So this is one of my favorite Just Getting Starteds because I invited my great friend Michael Irvin to come on. I've known Michael, let's see, since I was about 23 years old, 24 years old. I met him first when I was at ESPN. He would never have remembered. But then I met him again when I was 27 and I went to Fox Sports Net. And he was there, prime time, Michael Irvin. Larger than life. I remember cutting video of him in Bristol when I was a kid, his black mink coat walking down. He was bigger than life. And what I found out in person was his heart was bigger than life. He was the most warm, welcoming guy. We became great friends at Fox Sports. My husband, Rich, was like, he couldn't believe it. He's like, I can't believe you're hanging out with Michael Irvin. Um, 20 years later, he'd become my daughter's godfather. Was it 20 years later? Let me think. The math. I went to Columbia. There's no math requirement, so I tend to forget this thing. So I was 27, 37. No, so it's like 13 years later. He would become my daughter Taylor's godfather, and he was my guest at the wedding in a 10-button blue suit that, let's just say, stood out from the rest of the guests. And then, of course, he'd go on to work with Rich at NFL Network for so many years. But it all stemmed from this relationship that we started when I was at Fox Sports Net. And I was thrilled to call him up and say, hey, can you come on Just Getting Started? Because I think his origin story is so fascinating. How did a kid who was one of 17 go on to become a 3-time Super Bowl champ, go on to have an incredibly successful television career? How did this kid who came from nothing, who grew up after he lost his father, who was so impactful in his life, how did he go on to become one of the most prolific Hall of Famers in the history of the National Football League? We're going to dive into all of that on Just Getting Started right after this. As promised, the Playmaker, Michael Irvin, joins us here on Just Getting Started into his home office on this Thursday. Michael, before we start this, take us on a little tour behind us. You've got some really pretty shiny hardware behind you. So what do you have behind you? Let's hear about it.
Well, I had quite a few things, and now you got this house built 20 years ago. I know everybody's into that modern thing where you don't have much, and the walls are all clear, and I'm changing some of the house to that, but I haven't had time. I've been working the last 20 years since I built this house, right? But everything behind me. You got the Super Bowl trophies. I got national championship trophies behind me. Wide receivers of the year, the John Mackey Award trophies, and even an Emmy back here. So quite a few things, and then of course pictures and everything, and even in some corners, some of the awards that my sons have won in Little League and things like that. When my kid catches, Michael caught more passes than any player in high school, in Texas high school history against IMG. So you get him a little plaque, a little award, things like that I have back here. But it's just a lot of stuff. And then nowadays, it makes your office look cluttered instead of accomplished, since everybody's into this modern thing.
Well, I'm not sure that a Super Bowl trophy can ever make something look cluttered. Can you show us one? What's your favorite one back there? Show us what your favorite one is here.
Here, the truth of it is, and this is the one that's beat up the most. You see this? Because I'm afraid to send them off and get them polished and everything, because I don't know if somebody's going to send them back. But this is Super Bowl 27. The Super Bowl 27. Here's 28, and here's 30. Now, asking me which one of these are my favorite is like asking which one of my kids are my favorite. You know what I'm saying? They're all different experiences. And I'm going to tell you something. This first one, no matter what people say, the first one is the first one. And it's always very special because it's your first time and you had dreamed about it and wished for it for so long. Rather it's winning a Super Bowl or really having that kid. It's your first one. And you can't duplicate the first one of anything ever. So that will always be special. But they were all great. They were all great and fun times right there. And I love that we all got these little replicas to carry and to hold. And this right here, yeah, those are my babies right there. Even though I can't use them, Suzy, when I go to heaven, when I go to God. I can't say, look at these. Can I get to heaven? So I got to make sure I do some good works also.
And you have to enjoy them while you're here. Could you have imagined when you were a little kid playing football outside when the dark hit? Could you have ever imagined that you would carry 3 Super Bowl trophies?
Oh man, you know, we were talking the other day. Somebody was talking about it the other day about when we were growing up in the neighborhood and having the chance to play football. And I remember even when they put, because we didn't, when I first started, when we first were growing up, we didn't have street lights in our neighborhood. And I remember because when Troy went over to Monday Night Football, I was thinking about that. I remember the first time, I was a young kid, and they said, man, they will put street lights in your neighborhood. We said, what? Street lights? Oh, we're gonna have Monday Night Football because you're gonna play Monday Night Football in the street. So when you just said we used to have to come in when the lights go, when the sun go down, you play. You remember that time? You used to be able to play outside all you want. And when the lights come down, you come in the house. That's what the mom said. They never really worried about nobody snatching us. I guess nobody really wanted us. You know what I mean? My mom would say, "Oh, you snatch mine, you'll be bringing them back. You'll be begging me to take them back." You know what I'm saying? But we were able to do that. And I remember that light coming up, man. And we played Monday Night Football, and it was just everything. It was everything, Suzy. I said, man, I want to do this forever. Be able to play football like this and then play under the lights. It was the spark of a dream that really ended. I said came to fruition when we played in those real games and won the Super Bowl.
So, what was it like for you growing up there? You were one of many kids, that's for sure. Your mother, God bless her, had a big family. And what was it like for you? At what point did you discover football?
Well, yeah, okay. I grew up in Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale. I'm in Fort Lauderdale. My mom and my dad. My mom, she's a maid, she cleaned houses, and my dad was a roofer. Roofer. I'm the 15th of 17 kids, so we had 16 brothers and sisters, and I'm on the back end. I'm on the back end, So coming up late, my mom said to me when she got pregnant with me, she was like, "Oh my God, I just can't afford another baby." She was crying in church, and she said that's when God put his arms around her and said, "Listen, Pearl, fret not." She used those. She says, "Fret not." He said, "This child will be a special child. This child will make your latter days greater than your former days." We were in the process of what's called foot washing service, because we're primitive Baptists. So we tried to mimic what we thought Jesus did when he got down and washed his disciples' feet. So we would get down and wash feet. So it's a special moment. And that's when she said she had that visit. Suzy, I can't tell you how many times I heard my mom say that in my younger years, baby, it's going to be okay. She's opened the refrigerator, there's nothing. Baby, it's going to be okay. God has promised me you will make my latter days greater than my former days. She said it so much to me. You know what I mean? That it engrafted. It engrafted. And so it becomes kind of like, I'm trained. I want to train hard to walk out this destiny, but I trained with the confidence saying, well, God said I was going to do this. So I think back on that all the time now. I said, did I do it because of the confidence that she gave me or the brainwashing she did with me? What was it that got me to be as blessed and able to enjoy all of the trophies that I was able to win?
That's a lot of pressure on a little kid to be told by a mom, fret not, this will pay off for you, in other words, in your latter days. At what point did football become a part of your lexicon? Who introduced you to football?
And it's so interesting. So I remember. Okay, now I'm born in '66, right? 56 years old. Just turned 56. Born in '66. We lose Martin Luther King like in '68. It was the rise of the civil rights. Well, I think about 70, 72, something like that. 6, 7 years old. They started integrating the schools and they wanted us to travel outside of the neighborhood and not just go to the neighborhood school. They were integrating, so we had to be bused a little ways away. I remember walking into kindergarten in this school with all these white kids and all of these kids. And I remember the teacher saying to me, just saying, who knows what color this is? And the kids would raise their hand, and who knows how to spell their name? And the kids would raise their hand. And I didn't know any of that. I said, man, I must be the dumbest kid in the world. And that stuck with me. That stuck with me because I just felt so behind. I just felt so behind. Now, in third grade, they got me a tutor, and he said, "Listen, I'm gonna tutor you, Michael. We'll spend some time. He spent some time at lunchtime, tutoring me with math and everything. A math tutor. He would help me out, and he brought a football one day, and he said, "You want once we get through this fast, trying to encourage me to do the work fast. We do this, then we go out and play catch." And it was the first time somebody got a football and he was just starting to throw the football to me. And I was catching everything. And he said, man, you can catch like this. You can be special. That's all I remember. Him saying that. And with me feeling the inferior feeling I had in the classroom, him giving me this superior feeling in the sport, I just gravitated towards it.
Catching was your thing.
Right. I said ultimately, I went on and graduated from the University of Miami after my junior year of eligibility and went to the league. What I learned all along wasn't that I was a dummy. It was I didn't even have preschool. Those other kids had preschool. They had already been going to school. I thought kindergarten was the first time you come to school. I didn't know any of this. And I thought, oh my God, these kids are just getting here and they're smart and I don't know anything, So I went back and I thought about it and said, wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. But that is what ultimately attached me to football. The inferior feeling I had walking in that classroom and the superior feeling I had when that tutor started throwing me that football. I said, this is what I want to do. I like feeling a little more superior than inferior.
When somebody tells a kid that you're okay, that you're smart, that you can handle it, and the confidence that tutor gave you to find another route, but also to believe that you were smart enough, may well have changed your whole future.
It's interesting you say that. Now, the tutor gave me the confidence in the world of sports. Ultimately, what really gave me the confidence to finish school was my teacher, Miss Jones. Miss Jones was I went to this public school called named Piper, and then I transferred to a private school, St. Thomas, because I was having so many troubles at the public school. I was going with all the neighborhood kids, and it just too much trouble. I wasn't focused, and I got kicked out of that school. And then I went to this private school, and once I transferred, the public school came back and said, well, we want to let you back in. We want you to come to the public school. And they wouldn't sign what they called a waiver. So they said, okay, Michael. They took me to court. The public school took me to court back then. I was a junior. So I just did my sophomore year going into my junior season of high school. They took me to court and said, no, we want them to come back. I went to court. I said, I made this decision to change because I needed to improve academically if I wanted to get a chance to go to colleges. This is a college prep school. They were like, we don't think you are smart enough to make that decision. So ultimately, the ruling came down saying that I can go back to my public school, which I already told them I was getting in trouble here and it wasn't going well here. I can go back to school and play sports, or if it's all about academics and I really want to prepare myself, I can go to this private school and I could not play any sports. And it just crushed me. And Miss Jones was the teacher that grabbed me and she said, baby, and I had just been hearing all of this in the courtroom about how honestly how illiterate I was and I couldn't make this decision. I don't have the wherewithal to make that kind of a decision. And she said, baby, don't worry about that. She said, we can use this year to catch you up and to focus like we need to focus. She said, I promise you I'm going to spend all the time I need with you. You're plenty smart to do everything you want in life. I'll never forget her saying that to me. She said, you're plenty smart to do everything you want in life. We need this time. And she spent that year with me, her and her daughter, Jen, who's still one of my greatest friends right now. We just lost Miss Jones a couple months ago. Just lost her a couple months ago. God bless her and rest in peace. But Miss Jones, Jen Jones, who's still my great friend, was like my tutor, kept me going, got me through all the classes. What I learned, Suzy, when I went to this school was every kid in this school had a plan. I was aimlessly walking around, getting up, going to school, doing that's what everybody told me to do, but I didn't have a plan. And when I got over here and I put together my plan, I said, this is what I want to do. I'm going to play ball. I'm going to study. I'm going to major in business because I need to know business. I'm going to have minors in communication. And ultimately, I want to go into just what I'm doing now. So Miss Jones gave me the confidence that I could do it mentally and then helped me put together the plan that I'm actually living out right now. God bless her. She is truly one of the miracles on my journey.
I have two questions. First of all, why did the courtroom get involved? Why did they take such interest in one child who wanted to transfer to a better school?
The school St. Thomas Aquinas High School in Fort Lauderdale is one of the most prominent high schools in the country. You know, and all the big time athletes transferred from all over the country, You know, St. Thomas probably has more players in the NFL than any other school in this country right now. And every time you go to this school, things happen. Right now, I take care of a lot of my 16 brothers and sisters, and a lot of them aren't doing well. Some of them aren't doing well. So I take care of all of their kids if they're not doing well. The house that we grew up in, that I grew up in, I still own it. You know, I own it, and my sister, the one that's right above me, Pat, I have her in that house, and all of my nieces and nephews that my sisters can't take care of. Instead of losing them, I take them in, I adopt them, and I put them in this house. And everyone that I send to St. Thomas, and I pay for them to go to school at St. Thomas, everyone that I send to St. Thomas goes to college. It's 100%. It's 100%.
It's incredible.
So what they were saying, what the old school was saying was there was no way he made this decision. St. Thomas is known for getting all the great athletes, and they recruited him. I wasn't really even doing anything on the football field. You know what I mean? I was playing defensive end and tight end. Maybe I caught one touchdown, but and maybe 3 or 4 passes total. And then when I made the move over to St. Thomas, and then St. Thomas, my junior year, I didn't play any sports because of the ruling. I couldn't play any sports. My senior year, they moved me to wide receiver. I had never played wide receiver. I played 1 year high school at wide receiver, and then got a scholarship to the University of Miami.
When did it click in your brain that receiver was your place? How did it click when?
That 1 year, I couldn't believe they moved me. Listen, I started out playing offensive tackle and defensive end. I was offensive tackle and defensive end. And then they moved me out to tight end. Said, man, you can catch, man. Let's move you out to tight end. You know, so I went out to tight end. And when I got to St. Thomas and they moved me to wide receiver, I said, what are you guys doing? When I first lined up at wide receiver, these little kids at quarterback was like, don't you're not supposed to be out here like I was a big wide receiver, you know what I mean? Like when I got in the NFL, I was like one of the bigger wide receivers in the NFL. Now these guys are coming in incredible, Susan. Like, you know, back when I played, they had a big receiver and a small, fast receiver. Now the big receiver is the fast receiver. That's how the talent has evolved in the National Football League. But I was a big receiver. In high school, I was a huge receiver. And they saw that. They saw that. They were able, because I was on a real team. You know what I mean? I got on a real team with some real coaches that could project what you're going to be. Had I made the decision to go to St. Thomas, there's no way I would be right here today, because I probably wouldn't have gone out to play wide receiver. Just It just wouldn't have happened.
And how did your confidence boost while you became a better football player, both academically, as just even as a kid alone? When things started to click, how did that change you as a person?
Well, let me tell you, Suzy, that 1 year, that junior year, being away from the game was quite a year. It was a year that was a year of maturing. It really was. You know, I had been getting in a lot of issues at the public school, and then I transferred, and now I can't play sports. Right, I can't play sports. So it's a year I got to focus academically. But that same year, my dad got real ill. You know, he had a brain and a throat tumor, and he was like, "Son, I don't know what's going to happen here." He said, "But you know, I was right around at 16, and I just got my little restrictive license," and he was like, "This is a good time for me to spend some time with you since I don't know what the future holds. So you're going to drive me to my appointments, my doctor appointments, everything, so we can get some time together." So I really got a chance to spend a lot of time with my dad that year, and he was trying to help me become a man. He was saying to me how proud he is that I made the decision to transfer for academic reasons, and that I'm sticking it out. That he said, "I'm so proud of you that you're sticking it out, and this is good. Because you know we went through the courtroom process, and it was maybe 4 days before that first game. Where I had all this gone through this whole year with my dad, taking him to the doctor. Oh my God, I would take him to the doctor. Like one day, he would wake up and his leg swole, his right leg is swole, and his left leg is just so small. And then the next day, it would reverse. His left leg would be swollen, his right leg would be small. And now I got to take him to the doctor. Or he tried to get up one time and stop an argument between my sisters, and he broke his hip because he was getting frail, and I had to rush him to the doctor. And I remember him going to the doctor and saying, "Oh my God," he said, "Doc, how much longer do I got to deal with this?" And the doc said to him, "Is the pain is that great?" He's like, "It's not the pain, the physical pain, but the pain of my family seeing me this way, where I could not, he couldn't do what he needed to do for the family." And that turned something in me to see this man make that kind of sacrifice. You know, in his moment of pain, he's not thinking about himself. He was thinking about the family. It just turned something in me. It was an incredible year for me. But 4 days before that, you know, I was visiting my dad in the hospital, and we were talking. And he said, "Son, I'm so glad I got to spend some time with you this year, you know, even though under these circumstances." He said, "I really feel," he was a pastor. My father was a pastor. He said, "I feel I'm going home on the morning train." And he made me promise. He said, "You're going to promise me you're going to take care of your mother." I said, I'm going to take care of my mom. I'm going to take care of mom. Don't worry about that." But then the next morning, they called, and I'll never forget the words they used. They said, "Mr. Irvin has expired." You know, those were the words they used. They said he has expired. I said, "What do you mean he's expired?" You know, then it passed. And I don't remember. Now all I remember is I left and I went running. They found me on the football field at St. Thomas. I I was going to I thought I was going to like walk away from playing. I was going to get a job and try to help my mom, because that's what I had just said to my dad. And my mom said to me, she said, "Baby, what are we talking about here? What do you want to do? You're going to get a job. What help is that really going to do?" She said, "No, what you need to do is just focus, stay here, and use this as energy and go do what you've been called to do." And since that day, that that's that's what I've taken as my destiny. You know, I got to take care of my family. I focused in on the work. You know, I remember my dad when he was telling me growing up, he started making me go to work with him to do the cement. So what I did, Susie, it was the hardest stuff I've ever seen, the hardest stuff I ever did. I took the pants and the shirt, I hung it on the wall when I went to college. I said, "Listen, boy, you either make this work or you go back and do that work." And every day I walked in that room and I saw the Panama shirt covered with cement. I said, "No way am I spending the rest of my life on a roof doing this." It was just all little ways that I used to keep myself motivated and keep moving towards the prize.
See, that is exactly why we do this podcast, Michael,
Mm.
because That was your moment. That was your moment in time that you decided that you wanted more for yourself, that your father told you he expected more for you, that your mother pushed you to follow your dream. You could have, like you said, you could have put the gloves down, you could have put on the uniform, you could have gone and followed your father in the excellent work that he did. But that was the moment that you were encouraged and that you heard something deep inside that told you to go in the direction of your dreams.
And I so thank her for it. I remember you were asking about the Super Bowls. I remember we were at Super Bowl 27 at the first one in California. It was her first time going to California. And we talked about those moments, about some of those moments, difficult decisions. And when I wanted to stop playing, she said, "Baby, can you imagine if you would have stopped playing, we would have aborted all of this that God had for us."
Mm-hmm.
She said, "Oh my God, look at this. I can't believe we're at the Super Bowl." And, I would take them and her and my Aunt Fanny. My Aunt Fanny's still alive today because she lived about 4 houses down from my mom. That's my mom's sister. They traveled. I took them everywhere with me together. They were my babies, my girls, and I would take them, Susie, right? And you get bonus money and stuff at the end of the year. And so I would have like a lot of cash out in LA or going to Hawaii afterwards. And I would tell them, "So you guys want some cash to go shopping?" They said, "Yeah." So I would just open up a drawer cast and take as much as you want, right? So they'll take some and they would take, and then they would go shopping. And then at the end of the week, right? At the end of the week, because we'd be there week in LA and then go a week in Hawaii, right? For the Pro Bowl. We'll be there in LA, they have their room, they have a suite, and they just order. At the end of the week, we're getting ready to go home. And I said, "Yo, you guys okay? You guys spend all your money? You need some more money?" See, we spend all that money. We spend every dime. I said, "Y'all get some more," so they'll take some more, right? And then we would go check out, and I would see it. They charged everything.
Oh.
So they kept all the cash. They charged everything, and it just got to be our little thing. You know what I mean? Like I knew they were going to finagle me with the money situation, but it was all part of the deal. You know what I mean? And we just had fun. I would always tell them, just do whatever you wanted to do. You can do anything you want to do. You can do anything you want to do. We just had so many great moments. I miss her. I really miss her. I miss her all the time. Especially, I tell people all the time, man, like when Mother's Day come around and everybody's saying Happy Mother's Day, for all of us that have lost our mother, that's a hard day. It really is. It's a hard day, and you don't want to dampen everybody else's day, but it is a day you really think. Yeah, I think about it every Mother's Day. Every Mother's Day, it's a difficult day for me.
What was that house like with your mother and 16 of you? What was that like?
Right. It wasn't just it was all of ours, and then all of everybody's in the neighborhood. The house stayed crowded, just stayed packed, just like my house now. Actually, I got everybody comes in and lives, and and it's people here, and then people coming to stay over here. The people leaving, and the people coming. So even when her kids had kids, those kids would be there all the time. So it was crazy growing up, especially like now, how I live now compared to how I lived then. We had 3 rooms. That we were living in Florida. You only had the houses with the air conditioning kind of built in the window. You put it in the window, right? Or you just had the fan. And since we had 3 rooms, mom and dad had one, girls had one, boys had one, we only had one fan. So you had to play. You had to, you had to call the fan first thing in the morning. We got the fan tonight. Whoever got up first, they called the fan. We got the fan tonight. This is how we lived. I can't believe it when I think about it now. So since I was one of the younger boys, right, the girls would always call the fan. But the middle of the night, my brother, "Hey, go get the fan." So I got to go try to sneak and steal the fan. Oh my God. I took so many whooping sues from my sisters trying to steal that fan after we couldn't sleep. It was hot in there, right? They said, "Go get the fan." I would try to greet and come and steal. Sisters would wake up and, of course, they'll beat me down. they would beat me down. And my mom would always say, babe, you don't beat that. Y'all leave my baby alone now. God already told me my baby's going to be special, which means I got bigger beat downs because she was saying that stuff. Like,
That's what
stop
I was
saying
wondering.
that to them.
Yep. I
Right,
was
stop
wondering.
saying that to them. They're going
Yeah, how the other ones like, what about me, Mom? What about me?
right? And my mom was openly saying it. She was openly saying it. She was openly. I would come home because we didn't have much, so they would have to strategize. Like, listen, you get a little bowl of cereal for breakfast in the morning. The rest of these cereal are for tomorrow. Nobody touches them. But okay, I go out. I'm playing around. I come home and I sneak and I eat them after school. Oh, that's a beat down. That's a beat. I got to get beat down again by my sisters. I got beat down. It got to the point where I would say, one day I'm going to get bigger than all y'all. I ain't going to be taking these beatings. I'm going to get bigger than everybody. I'm just letting y'all know. And one day I did. I got bigger than everybody. So the beating stopped.
I would hope so. By the way, at this point, I can't even imagine because then your kids come along, they're bigger than you are, and you don't even know what to do with yourself. How did you find yourself at Miami? What was the story behind that?
Oh man, going to Miami too. It's so interesting because Miami was trying to really turn around their program, and Howard Snellenberger was coming into the real inner city. He said, "Listen, I'm going to recruit heavily in Miami." Black people wouldn't even go to Coral Gables, Florida. Coral Gables, where the University of Miami was a very affluent, white, rich area. It was like, don't even get caught driving through there. Don't go there. Don't do anything. Until Howard Snellenberger says, I'm going in there. I'm going in these areas and get all these guys in this city right here and bring them to Miami. Now, I was like, mind you, I didn't play any my junior year. I'm worried about getting any opportunity to go to school, and I'm at playing a position that I never played at wide receiver. And the 1 year I got to play to try to get a scholarship, and I thought, wow. And at the same time, Miami is trying to grow a program. I went a couple summers before that to Indiana University, a skills camp. They brought a couple guys. Took me, Lorenzo White, I think Lorenzo White picked the 17 pick to Houston in the first round, the same draft. Who's my best friend, played running back, went to Michigan State. We went to this camp in Indiana skills camps. Coach Sam Weiss was the coach at the time. Bobby Knight was the basketball coach. And I went there and listen, I did the skills camp and I tore him up. That's the first time I had ever left Fort Lauderdale. We drove all the way there. I tore him. I wanted to go to Indiana. I got to play basketball against Uwe Blah. He was the center then. James Thomas with that Uwe Blah. I said, man, I'm coming to Indiana. That was it. It was decided. I'm coming to Indiana. We drove back. To pay for that trip, they had us scraping the wallpaper off all the hotels in Fort Lauderdale Beach. Dude, this was the hard. I mean, you scrape for 5 hours and you only get about this much of a wallpaper piece. I said, listen, man. And then all the people would be down on the pool and we would be every day just scraping it. I said, man, I ain't going to be doing this all my life, man. I'm going to be down there with the rich white people, man. I'm telling y'all right now, I'm not going to be doing this all my life, So I wanted to go to Indiana. But then Stan Weiss left and went to Cincinnati. He went to Cincinnati, so I was like, oh my God. And then Michigan State brought in me and Lorenzo White for a visit. They really want. Lorenzo White went there and broke every running back record at Michigan State with Nick Saban as his running back coach, right?
Wow.
Lorenzo White, he went, well, Sid Eric had Nick Saban. My cousin said has Nick Saban. Lorenzo White went, he broke every record. They wanted me to come with them. I went, took a visit with them. But when it was cold, it's the first time I'd really been in snow. And we went to the bookstore. And we went in the bookstore, and I saw them offering stuff to Lorenzo, kind of sneaking it under the table. And I had on some penny loafers with no socks on because I came from Florida. I didn't even know. And I was like, Can I get some socks? They were like, that's against the rule. I was like, I just saw you sneak something to Lorenzo. And I remember when we left that visit, I said to Lo, Lo, I know we had a dream of playing together, buddy. I said, Michigan State's the place for you, but it's not the place for me. Them jokers couldn't even give me no socks. Oh,
Forget it.
so forget it. So yeah. And my coach, every time I would say the schools I wanted to visit, I visited. You know, the Indiana, the Michigan States, the LSU, another school I visited. Syracuse was another school. Every time I would mention the school, he would say in Miami. I said I'm going to visit LSU. He said in Miami. And I said then I'm going to go to Syracuse. He says in. I said why do you keep saying Miami? He said, Michael, you just lost your dad. I just want you to consider staying close to your mom because I know how close you are to your mom and be able to get back here if something, if you need be, because I know the responsibility she is and how you want to take care of her. And I said, okay, I'll visit Miami. And I visited Miami and then Howard Snellenberger came and landed a helicopter right on the high school football field and everybody went crazy. And ultimately, I chose Miami, and it was the best choice. It was the greatest choice. So Coach pushed me in that direction, and I'm so happy he did.
All I can think about is if only Michigan State had given you socks, their program would have been so different.
Isn't that crazy? I swear to you, I've thought about that. And just because I peeked that, and then I took that and said, "Oh no, you couldn't give me a pair of socks." That's really how that went down.
Just give the man some socks. What was it like, the transition for you from living with all of these people in a 3-bedroom house to living in this affluent neighborhood like Coral Gables? What was that like?
You know, it's so funny though. It's so funny you said that because when I swear to you, when you just said it, it made me think about because I visited Syracuse early in my trip. And Syracuse had their players in little apartments. Apartments. That was it. I was ready to go to Syracuse. I was like, oh, we don't have an apartment. How many people in the apartment? Oh, just 2 people in this bedroom and 2 people in that bedroom. So 2 people in this apartment. So we gonna. That was it. That was it. That was heaven to me. That was heaven coming from sleeping where I was sleeping with all of these jokers trying to steal a fan all night. You know what I'm saying? It was heaven. Just on that apartment. I thought about that. Like I was that easy. You could buy me with an apartment, just any kind of thing because of the situation that I was sleeping in. But when I went to Miami, they had apartments too, so that eased the pain for me. But when I moved to Coral Gables, now when we got to Coral Gables, you got this was this was Oklahoma's and Nebraska's. All of these big schools had been running. The Notre Dames had been running the college scene for forever, for so long. And now we come into Coral Gables, and little old Miami is popped on the scene with all of us guys influxing towards Coral Gables. I'm gonna tell you something, man. And all that we've heard all those years about not going to Coral Gables, man, for them people, they loved us over there. They loved the football team. They loved the football team, man. What we brought to Coral Gables, and I thought about like, man, I would never have come up here because of all I've heard, and now to be here and be received the way we were received. I mean, we love playing there. We had so much fun, and then walk around that community and to have that little school up with the Oklahomas and the Nebraskas, the Notre Dames, because of what we were doing on the football field. It was an incredible time. An incredible time.
Did you experience any racism?
Not, no, I wouldn't say there. Not in Miami. Not with what we were doing. Now you got to remember too. Now Miami's a melting pot too, and it was just really starting to become that, where all ethnicities and everything kind of immersing into Miami, into that scene. In the '80s, in the '90s, it was crazy. So that's what blew my mind. I mean, when I look back and I think about how I grew up, where I grew up, and the things that I've heard, white people this, white people that, white people this, white people that, white people. And then when I transferred over to St. Thomas, and got a chance to meet people like Coach George Smith and people like Miss Jones and the effect they had on my life. Or people like Mr. Cashman, my quarterback's dad, Chris Cashman's dad, who we passed a couple of years ago, and I was flying out to work in L.A. and I heard he had taken ill, and he had gotten sick real bad. And so I hopped back on a plane and went to Fort Lauderdale, and he was in hospice, and I got a chance to go visit him, Suzy. And they said to me, they said he may not make it through the night. So whatever you have to say it to him now. And I went in and I sat with him for hours. I just sat there. We didn't say a thing for a while, quite a while. He looked over. He broke the silence. He said, "I know how busy you are. Thanks for coming." And I said, "Mr. Cashman, are you serious?" I said, "Man, I didn't know what to say to him." I said, "Man, Mr. Cashman," I said, I just want you to know, man, no matter what, you've done so well. You've done well. He had been married for 40 years. His daughter was one of the top women golfers in the world. One of the top women golfers in the world. His son, who was my quarterback in high school, it sold this company, made hundreds of millions of dollars. And I said, "Man, you've done well." And I said, "I want you to know, Mr. Cashman, no matter what I do, no matter where I go, I'll never forget the love you showed a little black kid when you brought him into your house and you showed me that people are just people." I said, "Man, you're going to live on in me for the rest of my life. And if I do anything right, I'm going to pass your spirit on to other people. You've done well." And he passed right after that. But I think about it because I know, my whole life was that little neighborhood that I was growing up in, and all my lessons and all my knowledge. It wasn't the internet where you could see so many things. All your lessons, knowledge comes from that little group of people that you're growing up with right there in that neighborhood. Had I not had the opportunity to expand out of that neighborhood and learn more about people and learn that there are people out there that are willing, trying to help, not just what I was saying, all white people are trying to get you, all white people are trying, you know what I mean? If I had gotten stuck in that, it would have been a whole different world. So I thank God for all the people that reached out to help me, that I met outside of that neighborhood, to help me get an idea of what the rest of the world would be like. Because we didn't have like the internet like kids have today. All you had were the people that are putting information and imparting to you in those little areas you were growing up in.
Jimmy Johnson was one of those people in your life. What was it like meeting him for the first time?
Man, Jimmy came in. I told Coach all the time, I said, you followed me everywhere, man. I said, I got to Miami first, and then you came. Then I got to Dallas, and then you came. I mean, I said, you owe your whole career to me. He's like, come on, Michael. I was doing pretty good before I got here. But I joke with him about that, and the reality is I owe my whole career to him. Because my first day there, Suzy, I get in a fight at my University of Miami. I get in a fight with this offensive lineman because I'm telling these guys, listen, I'm on a mission. I didn't come here to do all this freshman stuff. Man, I got a family that's broke and starving back in Fort Lauderdale. I didn't come here to play with you guys. Let's be real. So I didn't want to go through all of those little freshman hazing things, and I didn't want to put up with it. And so I broke off into a fight the first day there on the training table.
Wow.
Over food. I went to Jimmy's office, and I was like, God damn, boy, you just got out of the hellhole ghetto, and now you're about to get sent back. Because I thought he was sending me home. I just got in a fight with a starting offensive lineman. But when I talked to Coach, he had already talked to Coach Smith, my high school coach, and he said, Coach told me now that, you just lost your father and you've gone through stuff this last year. He said, son, I want you to know I'm going to be here for you. I'm going to be here with you. But we can't be fighting each other. We cannot be fighting each other. He says, I'm going to send you back. He said, I'm going to take my offensive lineman, who was a senior at the time. He said, I'm going to suspend him. He should know better. And I'm expecting him to be a leader, which blew my mind, He said, I understand you've been going through stuff, and I'm going to sit here with you. I'm going to fight with you. But I can't have you fighting people. I can't have you fighting people. But lo and behold, a couple of weeks later, I'm fighting somebody else on the team. I get another fight. So I just thought, I just knew he was going to send me home. Last year, I remember Jimmy. We were here, and he was getting his Super Bowl, his Hall of Fame ring at one of the football games here at the stadium. And I sat in back of him. I had Troy with me and Emmett, and I just kept bawling, Suzy. I just kept bawling and crying, because I've never seen him that happy. He was so happy. That was his first time back in an arena, back in a stadium since all of the fallout, and he was receiving his ring, and I was just so happy. But I thought about all that we just talked about, all of those moments that had they gone any differently, all of this would not have happened, and Jimmy, had he sent me home like he probably should have when I've gotten into those fights early on, all of this would not have happened. But as you said earlier, he believed in me and stuck by me, and I thank God. And I tell him that every time I get a chance to see him.
And then you go on to become probably one of the most prolific players ever in the history of the University of Miami. And suddenly you're a Cowboy. And suddenly you're a Cowboy. What was it like for you the day that you realized that you could provide for your mom in the way that she always dreamed of, in the way that she always told you that you had been ordained to do so?
What's so interesting about that is it's I remember my dad and my sister Janet always said, "Boy, you gonna play for the Cowboys? 'Cause we're big Cowboy fans. It's the only team that we used to watch." And my dad wore a fedora hat. He wore a fedora hat just like Tom Landry wore a hat on the sideline. And, we would sit there and watch the game, Susan. And he used to always promise me, "One day, son, one day I'm gonna make enough money. We're gonna go to one of those games for real." He used to say that all the time. "One day, son, one day I'm gonna make enough money. We're gonna take you to one of these games." He never made enough money. We never went. We never got a chance to go to a game, you know. But I think about that all the time. That I actually go to games. I work at games, right now, and we couldn't afford to go to games then. But he was always a Cowboy fan. And my sister said, God showed me, God said you're gonna play for the Cowboys. So when I got drafted to the Cowboys, that was I was paying the money. It was insane in our house. It went crazy. Now, remember, I told you I graduated after my junior year. So I was trying to control, they're doing work in my house here, so I'm sorry about that. I was trying to control my draft. I was trying to control my draft. But what I mean by that, if you graduated back then, you had to graduate to leave early. And if you graduated as a junior, so if anybody drafted me that I didn't want to play for, I could drop a class, go back to summer school. They would lose the draft choice, and then I could apply for a supplemental draft and be redrafted. So I had already made up my mind. I was going to play in LA, New York, or the Dallas Cowboys. That's it. So Green Bay called, and hey, Green Bay was with the seventh pick. I was like, I don't think so. And everybody in the house was like,
Little
no way.
cold.
Right, it was too cold. Everybody in the house was like, no way, Green Bay. I was like, we the brokest people in the world. What are we talking about? No way. But they went on to draft Sterling, who was a great wide receiver, and he would have been in the Hall of Fame had he not gotten hurt with his neck and everything. And Dallas didn't even call. Dallas just drafted me with the 11th pick. But I knew they would because Jimmy had already met with me earlier, and he said, Michael, listen. He said, I got an oil buddy who was about to buy the Dallas Cowboys, and the Dallas Cowboys are going to draft you. He said, none of those shenanigans. That's where you go if they draft you, because I'll probably be joining you in about a year. I said, okay, coach. Okay, all right. And when the draft came, they drafted me, and then I came to Dallas, and he came the next year.
And what was that like, that moment that you realized that you had realized your mother's dreams?
Well, getting drafted was one thing, and for me that was, I did it. Me saying, okay, I realized my mom's dreams when I got back after I got drafted, and I was able to say, baby, I'm coming to pick you up, and we're going to look for houses. You can pick any house you want. I'm gonna get it for you. And I came and picked her up. And I remember back then it was the Volvos were the number one cars, right? It was the best cars you can get, especially coming brothers. We had graduated from Cadillacs. Now we were on the Volvo. They were the big. And I got my mom this brand new Volvo, put number one mom on it, and came and picked her up and took us house shopping. And that was the moment for me, because we had been up in that little hot house with those little air conditioners in the window. And my mom never knew about central air and all of that stuff. And to go pick out a house and to walk through those houses with her, and she was like turning on air conditioners on the wall units that goes throughout the house, and things like that was like wow. Or when I sent her first credit card, she had never had a credit card, and I got a phone call back, and she's like, "Baby, I don't want to mess anything up. I mean, God has been so good to us, and I went to get this grocery, and then people gave it to me for free." I said, "What do you mean, baby? Just tell me what happened." She said, "Well, I just put all that grocery up there, and the lady asked me about that card. I handed her a card. She gave it back to me, and I just walked out with all it." I said, "Baby, don't worry about it. It's called a credit card. I'm gonna pay for that at the end of this month." So we didn't get it for free. So those are the moments that you said, this is what she meant by making her latter days greater than her former days. That's when I realized it's really happening.
Marshall always talks about, and I love listening to him talk about being a running back and how the field gets quiet, and it's almost like in the Matrix where all of a sudden like he sees the field a certain way. What's it like for those of us who will never be Hall of Fame receivers? Explain to us what it's like being in the moment in a game and you're a Dallas Cowboy and Emmett's lined up and you're lined up. Troy's there, Charles Haley, you name it. Like, that's your team. What's it like for you in that moment where Troy calls a play and you go out and you're the playmaker?
Well, when you talking about and Marshall stayed in a zone the way he played, you know what I mean? But being in that space, in that zone, when you're playing at such a high level or high confidence, it is an incredible place, to be. My wife used to say to me, she said, "Baby," she said, how do you focus on that ball with all the people around you? You're going to catch a ball and all the people around. So how do you focus on that ball? She said, "Oh my God." Like I'm like you're about to get killed out here, and you just catch the ball and it's like I said, I don't even see all of that. I don't even see all of it. I have an idea in my mind where everybody's supposed to be because I know the coverage it is, and I know how you're supposed to play that coverage. The people that I had most trouble with on a football field is the people that don't know what they're supposed to be doing. Because I'm expecting you to be where you're supposed to be. If it's cover 3, I know where you're supposed to be. If it's cover 1, I know where you're supposed to be. You know what I mean? So I'm playing that in my head as I'm moving around. But I tell her, I said, "Babe, when I'm in that zone, I don't even see all of that. I don't even see it. The ball's coming my way. I don't even see all the hands or the space or the people that's trying to take me out. All I see is the football. I'll see bringing the football in and then trying to see the end game. And it really is a crazy. Like when I would take a hit, like ooh, like I didn't see that hit. Like somebody was where they're not supposed to be. That's how they just hit me. You know what I'm saying? It's that kind of thing. You get such a level of confidence. Like playing with Troy, and it's happened in a game. It really has happened in a game where and I truly believe like I could run 10 routes with my eyes closed and we can complete at least 8 of them. You know what I'm saying? At least 8 of them, and it has happened in a game. Suzy, I swear I could not see that ball. I was running a little bang 8, little skinny route, and I looked back and it was right in the sun. I said, "Oh my God!" I could not see the ball, and I said, "Let me just put my hands out," and that ball hit right down. It grabbed it some kind of way, and I caught that football, and I was like, "I cannot believe I just caught that football," but I could not see it.
What was it like being part of that 90s Cowboys team?
It was. Let me tell you why it was so great. It was so great because we didn't come here and it was great. It was great because we made it great. My first year we were 3-13. Then we went 1-15 before You know, I came in 3-13. Troy came in 1-15. And Emmett came in. We went 7-9. And then we took off and went on from there. And I was like, wow. You know, so even, and I remember all of those team meetings we used to meet. We ain't gonna have this next week. We got to do something about this next week. And next week, after a team meeting and players only meeting, we still go get our butts kicked. You know what I mean? We remembered all of that. So when we started doing well, since we were the same group, no one, I can tell you this day, and this is what's amazing and so satisfying to me. I just got off the phone with Emmett before I talked to you, before I called you. I was on the phone with Emmett before we got on the phone. Last thing he said when he got off the phone, we always said to each other, me and him, Troy, is, I love you, man. He said, I love you back, man. We've never, Suzy, understand, we've never had an argument. We've never had a falling out. We've never had a situation or issue, ever. As all that we've accomplished together, we've never had an issue. And I think it's all because we were here when it wasn't great. You know what I mean? So we all remember what we went through. So when we got great, we always kept remembering we all went through this together. Nobody ever got out of line. I think it's one of the most incredible things about accomplishing what we've accomplished. We're all still the greatest of friends, and we've never had a falling out in any kind of way in anybody with those teams. That's what made it great. People don't understand and they underestimate just how close of a team we still are right now to this day. And that's why we were able to accomplish so much.
And that's why sometimes these dream teams don't work out, because you're not building something together. You cannot replace chemistry, and you cannot replace being there when it's bad.
Right. And honestly, the Bible says that, you know, you suffer with me, then you should reign with me, you know, because if you suffer together, you can handle reigning together because you know what the suffering's been like. And that's what we did. We suffered together early. So when we had a chance where we were the team of the 90s and we were the cream of the crop.
It's funny, Winning Time is the big show out right now about the Lakers in the 80s. What would that scripted show look like if it were the Cowboys in the 90s?
Yeah, that's interesting too. But as you said, I'm sure some people have wanted to do it or tried to do it, and you know, you got to go through some hoops and hurdles to get the NFL to let you do anything. But I'm sure somebody would love to do it. But it would be an interesting watch. Yeah, you know, this Showtime is interesting too. And you know what makes me think about this too? Cause it's so funny. I remember when Jerry and I, one of my contract situations, when my contracts were up, Jerry and I were negotiating and I love Jerry. And Jerry said to me, he said, man, you're coming from, Michael, where you're coming from, I want to make sure that we don't have a bad ending. I want to make sure that you're in every negotiations, that you understand what's going on, that you understand what you're doing. So we are not out here later on like other guys, you know, not doing well. So he made me sit in on every negotiation, and this one had gotten a little hard and rough. And we were talking about we were talking about. I was like, Jerry, you know, maybe it's time to do something different. Maybe it's time to do something different. If we can't come together here, maybe it's time to do something different. And Jerry was like, you know, Michael, we should look into this. You know, so it was real close to them. They were going to trade me for Carl Pickens. They were sending me to Cincinnati. He was thinking about sending me to Cincinnati. He said, well, what do you think, dude? I said, Jerry, listen. I said, I got no issue with that. I said, everywhere I've gone, we win championships. I'm pretty sure I can turn Cincinnati into that too. I said, I would love the challenge. I'm up for that challenge. And then he looked at me and said, Michael, he said, let me tell you this. And I bring this up because you talk about the Laker time. He said this. He said, you know, when I see you, Michael, you know what I think about? I think about Magic Johnson. He said, what would Magic Johnson be without the Lakers? What would the Lakers be without Magic Johnson? He said, those two, they go together. He said, what I'm trying to tell you right now, he said, Michael, if a bomb hit Valley Ranch today and blew everything up, when the smoke clears, Me and you, we gonna still be here. We gonna always be right here because we are Dallas Cowboys. I said, so what does that mean? He said, hey, a trade is out the question. Then I said, what about the deal? He said, Mike, this is what the deal gonna pay. This is what it's still going to pay. He said, you can't get this kind of money nowhere else. You can't play nowhere else because we ain't letting you play nowhere else. So, ultimately, we worked it out. I was arguing with him to be the highest paid at the time. At the time, I wanted to be the highest paid because I had a few discussions with him. One time, I wanted to be the highest paid when I won Receiver of the Year, but we hadn't won a Super Bowl then. And Jerry Rice was the highest paid. And I said, I want to beat him by a lot. He said, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to put you right above Jerry Rice and take home money. And take home money because Jerry Rice has taken home some Super Bowls. You've never taken home. We haven't won the Super Bowl. So I said, oh, okay, boss. I said, okay, boss, I got you. I said, let's do that. Let's do that. Just put me right above, right there, take home. So I win and take home money. But then a few years later, we had won a few Super Bowls. We were back at the table. And Tim Brown was the highest paid then. And he said, I tell you, Michael, you said, yep, you best, you played the best. I'm going to make you the highest paid. He said, I'm going to put you right above Tim Brown. I said, no, boss. You're not putting me right above Tim Brown because Tim Brown don't have no Super Bowls. You're going to put me way above Tim Brown. Same thing he used on Jerry Rice to get me. I put it back on him, and we laughed and laughed. But ultimately, we got the deal done, And I think about all of those times. I think about those times with Jerry and what like and when I see the movie now and I see Bus and Magic together at the little party and stuff, I think about those things and Jerry saying those things to me and the little moments that I've had with Jerry. I really like that little documentary or that little show they're doing on the Lakers.
So who would play Michael Irvin?
Oof. I don't know who you got playing Mike Irvin. I mean, I would say Will, but I don't know if it's good to say Will right now. You know what I'm saying?
No, you might, but I think you're gonna have to go younger. Maybe like Michael B. Jordan. I could see that, right?
Yeah, that's a good one. You're talking about right now.
Yeah. If we're casting the '90s Cowboys show on Showtime,
Michael B. Jordan too. I was just watching him in Creed. I was just watching him in Creed too. What a great actor he is, huh? You know what I mean? That was a great movie. I was just watching that the other night too. So yeah, that would be a good one.
I'll tell you it would be a heck of a show because as look, I remember sitting in Bristol as a kid. I remember your full-length black mink coat. I remember thinking, I've never seen a man sport a black mink coat quite like that.
That coat, I still have that coat. I can't get. It's so funny. This was years later. I was in the broadcasting now, and they had a game in New England. Cowboys playing New England, and I was at ESPN, right? So I did work, and then I said I'm gonna drive up to Massachusetts. You ride the Mass right there and go to the game. So and it was, I don't know, it was 10 degrees, whatever. So I put on the mink, and I'm on the sideline. I'm on the sideline of the game. My wife sees
New England. Oh, God.
right, in New England. My wife sees it. She's called. I answer the phone to you. I said, hello. She said, what are you doing? I said, what do you mean? I'm at the game. I see this. What are you doing with that coat on? I said, what do you mean, baby? It's 10 degrees. It's my mink. I'm wearing my mink. She said, you should be having that mink. You shouldn't wear it on TV. Not after you wore it to court. I told you never to wear it on TV. She told me never to wear it on TV again after I wore it to court. You can't even put.
Well,
I was like, I'm not.
No one,
right,
Michael.
right,
no one's gonna ever forget that image.
Right, and that's what she says. Everybody went back to that image. Get off TV in this coat. I was like, I'm not taking off my coat. I don't care about that. It's so I can only bring that coat out if there are no cameras around now. She won't allow it.
I hear you. You can wear it to my house. All right, really quick, say I've had you on for forever. How'd you get the name Playmaker?
We were in school, in college, University of Miami. We had just lost Eddie Brown, who went to Cincinnati in the first round, became one of the best receivers in the NFL. And Stanley Shakespeare, he played in Miami, played with the Dolphins, played after he left the University of Miami. We had just lost him. And coach was saying, we lost some great players, but I need some guys out here. I need some guys to make some plays. I need some real playmakers out here on this practice field so we can find out who's going to replace these guys. And so over the next few days, we go to practice. I'm making plays. I'm making plays. And Winston Moss said to me, he said when I was making a play, I caught a pass from running down the sideline. Winston said, "Oh my God, there's the playmaker right there." Winston Moss, who was coach over at Green Bay, he was coach of Green Bay Packers. He said, "Oh my God, there's the playmaker right there." Once he said that, it just stuck. It's just stuck, and people started, "Oh, there's a playmaker." It started that season, that practice, trying to win the starting wide receiver job at the University of Miami. Winston Moss said it in practice, and it just stuck ever since.
Yeah, the Playmaker nickname is one of those
Yeah.
special nicknames that you don't forget. But I love the fact that you brought it with you to the Cowboys and that it stuck the whole time.
Yeah, it's so funny too because we wanted to be called a bomb squad coming in college. We had these towels with the bomb squad on it, but none of it stuck. The playmaker stuck, because they started putting it in the paper and called back in. They used to call me touchdown in the streets. Touchdown, touchdown. Like in Miami, all the dudes in Miami, whatever they were doing, I'm not gonna say I don't know what they would do. They was touchdown. You know how much touchdown? You know how much money I won on you today? I bet you won't score a touchdown. You scored it. They called me touchdown in the streets. But on the field, they were calling me playmaker, and then they started writing it in the paper, and that was it. That was it. Once they started writing the paper, it just kind of caught.
As we wrap this up today on Just Getting Started, I'm curious about what's the biggest misconception people have about you.
You know what I think it is, that I'm some big tough guy, and I'm really the I'm a big kid. I'm just a kid. You know what I mean? Now I'm probably a different dude on that football field. You see what I mean? I'm a whole different dude on the football field, but I'm not a big tough guy. I'm actually a soft guy. And I think that's probably the big exception. So there's things that I wouldn't do, like since I wore the Scully, right, in the movie The Longest Yard. This is me. On TV, you'll never see me wear a hat. Like even when we're in 5-degree weather and everybody's covering their head,
Really,
I'm
Michael?
not putting the hat on. I'm not, because I don't want to scare people by bringing back that hard look, that tough look.
Michael, how's your team going to be this year?
I'm a little worried right now as we speak here today, Suzy. I think a big part of it is going to come down to what happens in this draft, because they've let so much talent get away. Sending Amari Cooper to Cleveland. I did not like that deal at all. I know they thought Amari Cooper was making top dollar at $21 million a year, but the reality is that number has already changed. $30 million is the top receiver now. So $20 million for Amari Cooper is almost a steal right now. So I hate the way that played out. You don't get rid of the kind of talent the Dallas Cowboys have gotten rid of and come back and say, okay, we're better right now. They are not better right now than they ended the football season. They just have to make sure that they get somebody like they got last year, a Michael Parsons or somebody in this draft.
Michael, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you sitting here for an hour and talking about where you came from, how you were brought up, and what gave you the confidence to keep going. I feel like people really need to hear these origin stories right now. What is the greatest piece of advice that you have for people out there looking to pave their own path?
I go biblical on this, and the Bible always tells us, says, always have hope. And that's what I want to tell people to always have hope. Hope says that there's something in front of you better than what we're going through or what we've dealt in back of us, and keep moving forward. When you lose hope, we're in a dangerous area. Always have hope. Get up and keep moving forward, and you'll be okay in the end.
Love you, Michael.
Hey, love you too, Suzy. Love you to death.
Hope. He said it best. Michael Irvin said that it takes hope, especially in dark times. And that's exactly what he experienced growing up. Can you imagine growing up in a household with 16, 17 kids in, and his mother had to provide? I love how he talks about sometimes he'd look into the refrigerator, there was nothing there. And his father, a roofer, a very humble man, a pastor, who would take the time to watch football with him, who didn't live long enough to see Michael become the Hall of Famer that he did. I love that Michael can share so much with us, and I hope that it gives you some strength and some impetus to put your life in order and to get out there and make some changes and try things out. That's exactly why we do this podcast. I have a great April ahead, a lot of really badass women. I'm kind of excited to bring that to you. I'm very excited to bring that to you. I've got a great lineup coming up ahead. And if you have ideas for somebody that you want to hear talk about how they got started, please reach out to us. Cumulus Podcast Network has many ways to get in touch. And I'm going to figure out one of these days, I'm going to make Lou Pellegrino, my producer, come up with some kind of Twitter handle or email, because I am terrible when it comes to social media. But I want to hear back from you and see who you have in mind. I've got a great lineup ahead, and I hope that you continue to come back here and take a listen to Just Getting Started. I'm Suzy Shuster. Have a great day.